ನಾಥ ಕೃಪಾ ಸಾಗರ ಗುರುನಾಥ ಅಪಾರ ಮಹಿಮಾ ಗುರುನಾಥ ಕೃಪಾ ಸಾಗರ ಗುರುನಾಥ ಗುರುನಾಥ ಜಯ ಗುರುನಾಥ ಗುರುನಾಥ ಜಯ ಗುರುನಾಥ ಸದ್ಗುರುನಾಥ ಗುರುನಾಥ ಗುರುನಾಥ ಜಯ ಗುರುನಾಥ ಸದ್ಗುರುನಾಥ ಗುರುನಾಥ 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 ಸದ್ಗುರುನಾಥ ಗುರುನಾಥ ಶಂಕರ ಗುರೋ ಜಯ ಶಂಕರ ಗುರೋ ದೀನ ದಯಾಳೋ ಗುರುನಾಥ ದೀನ ದಯಾಳೋ ಗುರುನಾಥ ಪರಿಪೂರ್ಣ ಕೃಪಾಳೋ ಗುರುನಾಥ ದೀನ ದಯಾಳೋ ಗುರುನಾಥ ಪರಿಪೂರ್ಣ ಕೃಪಾಳೋ ಗುರುನಾಥ ಗುರುನಾಥ ಜಯ ಗುರುನಾಥ ಗುರುನಾಥ ಜಯ ಗುರುನಾಥ ಸದ್ಗುರುನಾಥ ಗುರುನಾಥ ಗುರುನಾಥ ಜಯ ಗುರುನಾಥ ಸದ್ಗುರುನಾಥ ಗುರುನಾಥ 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 ಸದ್ಗುರುನಾಥ ಗುರುನಾಥ ಶಂಕರ ಗುರೋ ಜಯ ಶಂಕರ ಗುರೋ ಶಂಕರ ಭಗವತ್ ಪಾದ ಶಂಕರ ಗುರೋ ಶಂಕರ ಗುರೋ ಜಯ ಮೌನವ್ಯಾಖ್ಯಾ ಪ್ರಕಟಿತ ಪರಬ್ರಹ್ಮತತ್ವಂ ಯುವಾನಂ ವರ್ಷಿಷ್ಟಾಂತೇವ ಸದೃಶಿಗಣೈಃ ಆವೃತಂ ಬ್ರಹ್ಮನಿಷ್ಠೈಃ ಆಚಾರ್ಯೇಂದ್ರಂ ಕರಕಲಿತ ಚಿನ್ಮುದ್ರಮಾನಂದರೂಪಂ ಸ್ವಾತ್ಮಾರಾಮಂ ಮುದಿತವದನಂ ದಕ್ಷಿಣಾಮೂರ್ತಿಮೀಡೆ ವಟವಿಟಪಿ ಸಮೀಪೆ ಭೂಮಿಭಾಗೆ ನಿಷಣ್ಣಂ ಸಕಲ ಮುನಿಜನಾನಾಂ ಜ್ಞಾನದಾತಾರಮಾರಾಧಿ ತ್ರಿಭುವನ ಗುರುಮೀಶಂ ದಕ್ಷಿಣಾಮೂರ್ತಿದೇವಂ ಜನನ ಮರಣ ದುಃಖ
ಹರಿ ಓಂ. सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। For a couple of days more, repeat the first shloka after me until it becomes a good practice. Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Sadgurum Pranatosmyaham. The next shloka, repeat after me. Jantūnāṃ narajanma durlabhamataḥ puṃstvaṃ tato vipratā tasmādvaidikadharmamārgaparatā vidvattvamasmātparam ātmānātmavivecanaṃ svanubhavo brahmātmanā saṃsthitiḥ muktirno śatajanmakoṭisukṛtaiḥ puṇyairvinā labhyate jantūnāṃ narajanma durlabhaṃ. We have seen that yesterday. Of the 8.4 million different kinds of species, sentient creatures that are born in this world, the human birth is supposed to be the rarest one. This has got nothing to do with how we behave as human beings. Being born as a human being, probably we are the only species that kill of the same kind to survive. The saddest part. Rest of the creatures protect their own kind. They don't eat their own kind. They don't kill their own kind. Since eternity, it is only the human which has this big gaping flaw. It's not based on what we end up doing, but from a totally different perspective. If we were to be decided on the basis of what we end up doing, then probably I won't even say that it is comparable to the rest of the animals, because they would feel offended. But what perspective is this Adi Shankaracharya ji making it from? So he says, puṃstvaṃ tatah. Puṃstvaṃ. All those who are feminists, please hold on to your armory and weaponry and other things before you hurl it on me or towards Adi Shankaracharya ji. Here we are talking about those qualities like courage, firmness, conviction, the ability to pursue something until we reach to the goal, however difficult it may be. These kinds of qualities are called puṃstvaṃ. It has got nothing to do with the gender or the sex that we are born into. It is more of the mental stature that we need to hold on to. Being born as a human being is one thing, but having been born to have this mindset. And courage does not mean like the Bollywood or Hollywood style that you are surrounded by 10-15 people and you smack all of them out and everybody is going all over the place, and not even your, let alone the clothes, ironing on the clothes, not even the hairstyle goes off. It stays impeccable. No, I'm not talking that as a courage here. Courage, according to Vedanta, is born out of immense patience. Sabr in Hindi it is called. Immense amount of patience brings out courage. The impatient ones cannot progress on this spiritual path. And we are not talking about having patience with the world around or the spouse or children or something else external. We are talking about having patience with one's own self. That would drive anybody nuts. Once you start becoming sincere on this path, that quality to be holding within, that firmness, that conviction, that clarity is called puṃstvaṃ. Just to have that courage and patience is not sufficient. It has to be backed up with proper knowledge. Vipratvaṃ. Many of us, after listening to, say, a couple of chapters of Bhagavad Gita, one or two Upanishads, and maybe one or two Prakarana Granthas, we suddenly feel that which I am studying is not something which I can experience through this study. Why am I wasting my time into these things? Instead, I could focus on something that I can do. There's one statement I'll probably keep repeating multiple number of times. So pardon me if you feel repetitive, that we are wrongly portrayed as human beings. We should be called human doings. Because we cannot sit quiet. We have to constantly keep doing something or the other. See, India, the marketing technology of the street side vendors, sometimes even in the trains, is amazing. Like when they sell the chana or peanuts in the train, You know what they sell it as? Time pass button. I'm sure you all have heard that. Well, you're doing nothing, time pass. So going through the scriptural study feels like that kind of a time pass, because I'm not doing anything. Before we jump into action, it is essential that I know where I am jumping into. To have a distinct clarity as to what is the direction that I am heading out into. It cannot be that, I'll jump out and let's see where it takes me. And we have spent a lot of lives like that. This clarity is important, because I very clearly know where I am. That where I have to reach, that is not very clear. As in a GPS system, you need 2 points. One, point of origin and point of interest. In the GPS, it is recognized as POI. POI, not the Tamil POI. POI means point of interest. Point of origin, point of interest. Without having clarity as to where I have to reach, then it will be like the great Texan wisdom. Not all that which is printed on the back of a pickup truck is actually wisdom, but sometimes Texans also surprise us with a piece of wisdom here and there. So once, long time ago, I had read this. It said, got nowhere to reach, so I would never ever be lost, because I'm just exploring. See, if you have nowhere to reach, you will never be lost. But without knowing where to reach, trying to do something right now because it feels more fruitful doesn't actually cut it. Before we can equip ourselves to do what we have to do at this point, to have the clarity of where to reach, what does it do? Where does it help? It keeps the inspiration constantly burning until we reach there. When do we feel dejected? When do we feel lost? Is when we lose sight or focus of that destination. In Vishnu Purana, it is very beautifully said, Vishnoho vismritihi sarva dukkhasya karanam. Forgetting what is my lakshya, what is my goal that I have to reach, in itself is the cause for dukkha or unhappiness. Not knowing it and trying to do something, kuch to karna hai yaar, something I have to do. So we start observing patterns. Oh, they all go for bhajan. Okay, let me also go for bhajan. They all go for meditation. Let me also go for meditation. They all go for pravachan and satsang. Let me also go for pravachan and satsang. They do lot of seva. Let me also jump in, do lot of seva. I'm not saying that these methods or techniques are wrong or futile. Before we adapt ourselves to these techniques, why is it that I am doing it? Why am I engaging myself in it? Is it just a feel-good factor? If it is just a feel-good factor, there will be a point that we will come across wherein we will definitely feel dejected with everything that we are doing in the name of spiritual evolution. And then we will have this claim, been there, done that. Nothing works. But there is no clarity as to where do I have to reach to. Therefore, vipratvaṃ, learning and acquiring that clarity. Again, learning not for the sense of tall claims that I have also studied Bhagavad Gita, I have also studied Upanishads, I have also studied all these. And then we have not even understood why that purpose of study is for. To acquire clarity and nothing less. How do I know if I have gotten that clarity? When my intellect it feels a certain amount of peace and there are no questions that are born in that intellect further. Okay, let me retrace back. There may be questions, but there are no more doubts that raise in such mind which has clarity. There will be inquiry, but there is no more doubt. Until those doubts are clarified, this learning process should continue. Vipratvaṃ. So narajanma, and then the mental qualities, and then the clarity, vipratvaṃ. Then he says, tasmādvaidikadharmamārgaparatā. See, our religion has gotten a lot of names. Of what I call it as acquired identity. Because if you refer in through all our scriptures, there is not a single reference wherein it refers to itself as Hinduism, Haindava Matam. No. The Persians crossing through the Sindhu Nadi could not pronounce Sindhu, so the sa dropped and the sa morphed into her. Come on, how can it happen? Why? Ask the Mexicans. They will write it as jalapenos, but pronounce it as jalapenos. So after May, it should be Hulai. Right? Like coming from India, we would always say it as San Jose. It's only after coming here we recognize that it is San Jose. What happened to the J? In the Spanish language, J becomes Ha. So maybe in the Persian language, Sa became Ha. And the Sindhu, anything east of that Sindhu river, they recognized it as the Hindu culture. So from that perspective, we have so many traditions. 2 more traditions added in or 3 more traditions added in, they would also technically be called Hindu only. Whether it is the Buddha, Jaina, Sikh, whichever tradition, because it's east of Sindhu river. Then the British came in and they found it very difficult or obnoxious to say Hindians. So they dropped another H. Then it became Indian. We don't find Hindu, Haindava. Then some do refer to our religion as Sanatana Dharma. Couple of places, even in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan himself recognizes it as the Sanatana Dharma. But what would be the actual technical word for whatever we practice? It's called Vaidika Dharma. And the culture therefore would be called as the Vaidika Samskriti. Born of Vedas, those who follow the Vedic dictums. They are called the Vaidika Dharma. Therefore, he says, after getting that clarity, first acquire that clarity and then jump into the field of doing. Doing what? That which has been prescribed by the Vedic literature, by the Vedic Shastra as righteous. Follow them implicitly. See, nowhere here it says that because the Vedas say so, therefore you do. But what was the first prerequisite? Before you start doing, inquire thoroughly into it, acquire that clarity, vipratvaṃ. Then start following it into your life. Sometimes on a public platform, in those platforms they don't invite me further after I say what I say, because we have conditioned ourselves when we say, especially in the what do you call those, different religious heads come and they speak, interfaith panel, interfaith debates. So one of the things that they expect a religious leader to say is, all religions are same. So, but there is one factor wherein, multiple factors, one of the key factors wherein I would say that Hinduism stands out unique is it is not thrust on us saying that if you shall not follow these dictums, then you are against the religion. In fact, the scripture itself says, just because the scripture is saying so, you are not encouraged to jump into that bandwagon, but inquire into it, acquire that clarity. Without that clarity, jumping into action or doing anything, it will only make that individual a fanatic. And the purpose of the Vedic scriptures is not to turn us into another conditioning called a fanatic, but to break the very core of all conditionings whatsoever. That is why the scriptures themselves say in the Upanishads, yatra vedaha avedaha bhavanti. Having reached to that which is being pointed by the Vedas, you don't require the scriptures any further. Which makes sense. When I was growing up, I was woken up early in the morning, 5:30, with all that grogginess, sit there, and we were supposed to memorize and repeat mechanically the mathematical tables. And we were often told that what you learn early in the morning waking up is what stays with you for your entire life. Why can't this early morning come at night? Groggy sitting there, he keep chanting 2 1s are 2, 2 2s are 4, and be in between like ting, and then we are poked, hey, 2 3s are 6, and like 2 all the way to 20 and 20 all the way to 20. At least that was the norm in my household. Constantly keep chanting, repeating. At that point, if somebody were to ask, do you actually know what you are doing? Do you want to continue? No kid would ever say yes to it. It seems like meaningless, purposeless. It's only after a while that when you start learning, higher math, especially the algebra, wherein you have all confusions, parameters put in there. There will be a division sign, there will be a minus sign, there will be a plus sign, there will be a square and the square root, and you have to be quick on your, in those days we did not have the luxury of a handy cell phone with a calculator app in it. Nowadays even the watch and wristwatches also have the calculators embedded in it. It is all supposed to be up here. To learn in such a way that we become independent of that process of learning as well. How long did you, again, now, after that age we learned. Now also when you wake up in the morning, do you again start 2 1s are 2, 2 2s are 4, 2 3s are... No, it is done. Once you have learned, then you don't require that whole process. Nobody is born as an expert cook. It's only that after you get married, you get the license to experiment on each other. Over a period of experimentation, then you become experts. Therefore, my rule of thumb is, if somebody said that this dish was prepared specifically from a recipe book, it's already a red flag in my head. That will go half spoon on my plate. I don't want to be the one experimented upon. See, 25 years of Bhiksha surviving on it, I have learnt a skill or two myself. That when people ask me, Swamiji, what do you want to eat? I have also become smart. I never tell what to make. I instead ask, what are you good at? Sensible, right? If you still use a recipe book, then please come to my place. I will cook and feed you. There is a point wherein you transcend that recipe book because you are done with it. Yatra recipe book, a recipe book bhavati. What is expertise? That where you don't require that support anymore. In an operation theater, operation room, if there is a doctor who has to have thick books and has to go through the pages, which nerve, what artery, how much incision, which blade. No, I don't want to go to such one. Please go back to your residency, finish few more cadavers, and then come experimenting, not on me. Having reached to that place, you should have transcended that support system. And Hindu scriptures very clearly tell that this is just a supporting pointer, and once you have experienced that which is being pointed, you become independent of that scriptural injunctions as well. Until then, Vaidikadharmamārgaparatā. Until then, with understanding, follow that which the scriptures are pointing implicitly. See, many of us, when we have questions, doubts on religious, spiritual, scriptural, I had to have my own learning curve as well. When people would ask questions like, why did Rama do this? Why did Krishna do this? Why does Manusmriti say this? I used to be like head on with them, like, get into the debate, argue, and try to get across. It's only later that I realized none of them who are asking, maybe in my 25 years, 2 or 3 people that I may have come across who are asking because they have studied and not understood. And the rest are hearsay. Oh, I have heard it. See, if you have made the mistake of hearing it, why am I liable to answer? Go clarify from there where you have heard it. What kind of study did you do in Ramayana or Bhagavata or Mahabharata? I have read Amar Chitra Katha. Is that even a standard? Or not even that. I have heard it. Heard it from what? Heard it from who? Have you investigated into it to understand whether what you have heard is having any water in it or not? Can it hold any water in it? No. And we have already formed convictions based on it. Ask any average Hindu out there, what is your opinion on Manusmriti? Oh, it is bad. From what standpoint, Baba? Have you studied? Oh, I have heard. That doesn't even justify a debate. Right? When you expect even in the field of science or anywhere where you want to have a debate, shouldn't the one who is debating or for or against have done their thorough research and not come to that debate on hearsay? So vipratvaṃ, gain that knowledge, wisdom, clarity before you start applying it into your day-to-day life. And thus, who has tried implementing this Vaidika Dharma Marga and start living life righteously, through experience, when they have arrived at the conclusions befitting their conviction, that wisdom is called vidvattvaṃ. Non-experiential blabbering cannot be called as vidvattvaṃ. And today the internet, blogging, microblogging, everybody has their opinion. And then there are cross references and quotations of these blabbering saying, oh, they say it, see. What kind of research have they done into it? Now, amongst this chaos, I'm just picking on the nerve of this society, Hindu society. Many of us, when we are questioned, we have not done study or cross-referencing ourselves, and we are put in a corner. We are cornered with these questions. Then we also alienate ourselves with the entire system saying, oh, I was born as a Hindu, but I am not a practicing Hindu. I believe in the spirituality of Hinduism, but not the religious nature of Hinduism. See, when I go to the universities, one of the topics that attracts maximum crowd are the topics like religion versus spirituality. Oh yeah, this is something good. If somebody were to say that I am focused or I am very much interested in applied mathematics because it has got nothing to do with pure mathematics. Arey Baba, your applied mathematics comes into picture only from pure mathematics. They go hand in hand. Applied physics, pure physics. Oh, I don't believe in applied physics. I believe in pure physics. Philosophy without its practice is lame. Practice without the understanding of philosophy is blind. Both have to go hand in hand. Thus, blending these two together, when we come to that point where we experience it, multiple iterations of these experiences, because at first attempt nobody is going to be successful, especially with the spiritual path. Multiple iterations that you go over again and again and again. And over a period you acquire the nuances, and then you don't require the scripture, but you instead become the reference for the scripture, that look, that this person has experienced that which the scripture is pointing at. That is called vidvattvaṃ. Becoming that expert in that field because I have now experienced it. Vidvattvamasmātparam. Now, once that experience is firmly established, that wisdom is firmly established, then ātmānātmavivecanaṃ svanubhavo. We have already chanted it. Then start inquiring into Atma and Anatma. The discrimination between that which is real and that which is unreal. That which is necessary and that which is not necessary. That which is essential and that which is non-essential. And it is not again to be assumed that this discrimination is a one-time job. It is a consistent application of this discrimination in every interaction with the outside world. Therefore, spirituality, according to our Sanatana Dharma, is not just restricted to a certain time, certain space in front of an altar, but that is just a preparation so that when I step out into the world of interactions, I carry forward that experience, I carry forward that mind, the sharpness of it and the depth of the mind with the clarity of the intellect, which transforms every action and interaction with the world outside as a spiritual experience. Every experience has to be thus carefully involved and interacted with. Now, presently, when we are not at that stature, suddenly listening to these details feels like, looks very cumbersome process. Now, what is not a cumbersome process? If you take a 5-year-old and compile all the textbooks and different reference books and the novels, storybooks and all these things that they're going to study from kindergarten all the way till their masters, pile them up and then show the kid, this is what you're going to study for next 15 years. Anybody would be scared. Baba, I'm okay without it. The better would be if we can write down these steps. And through these steps, identify where exactly am I. One thing is given. Born as human beings. Jantūnāṃ narajanma durlabhaṃ. I would not be presumptuous, but I would say that if you are sitting in this environment with a likelihood of understanding or trying to understand what the scriptures are saying, I would say the next one also is there. The mental tenacity is also prepped up. Puṃstvaṃ. Going through the scriptures to have that clarity, aiming for vipratva. Have we progressed, or where are we in the rest of the steps? And once you exactly know where you are, to where you have to be becomes easier. Therefore, when you stand in a mall, in the map, what is the first thing that you will have to look for? It's amazing, right? They know you are here. So when people randomly ask, what is that red dot on your forehead? I tell them, like in the map where it says you are here, it is to remind me also I am here. The map says you are here. Knowing where you are makes it easy for you to reach where you have to. ātmānātmavivecanaṃ. Now, once every aspect of our life inside out has been thoroughly analyzed in the light of the vipratvaṃ that has been acquired through our consistent scriptural study, whether it is emotional, whether it is intellectual, whether it is at a physical level, whether it is at an interactive level, at all these levels, different nuances, I study them. And whose nuances are we talking about? This whole processing is not about evaluating the people around. No, we have not taken a shrink's job. It is personal evaluation. Then we come to a standpoint or a firm platform within of peace. In that sanctuary of peace within, brahmātmanā saṃsthitiḥ, identifying my true nature. Because up until that point, the way even I look at myself is by various standpoints of what I can define myself as. I'm a man, I'm a woman, I am tall, I am short, I am dark, I am white. Indians never say brown, we always say wheatish, dark wheatish, light wheatish. You see all the matrimony and shadi portals, there is no brown category there. There is only wheatish category. Dark wheatish, light wheatish. Then the educational qualifications. All these are defining what I am, but not essentially who I am. Like yesterday, I went into the distinction of Swarupa and Guna. What is the description that it gives a description of the Gunas? Who it gives the description of my Swarupa? Based off of my definition of my own self as different things amalgamated into are nothing but different whats. At a physical level, at an emotional level, at an intellectual level. I am a singer. Whatever, like different professions, different kinds of habits, different kinds of practices, it all defines only as what, not who. Once this firm platform of sanctuary of peace that is created within, then the enquiry into not what is immaterial there, enquiry into who I am. And the most amazing aspect of this enquiry is all enquiries on what will have an answer. But the enquiry into who is not started or is not encouraged in spirituality to find an answer. But the one who is asking the question, that questioner evaporates. Am I getting across? The enquiry of who is not to find an answer that can define who, but to remove the enquirer completely. Now, once the enquirer himself is removed, what remains is unbroken, unfragmented from the core. Brahmātmanā saṃsthitiḥ. But we have been conditioned all our life to inquire into what we need to find that answer. So we get into the enquiry of who as well, with the intent of trying to find an answer. But that enquiry is not to find an answer, is to transcend the questioner. It's a huge difference there, a very subtle one at that. Brahmātmanā saṃsthitiḥ. Muktirno śatajanmakoṭisukṛtaiḥ puṇyairvinā na labhyate. And this whole statement, last statement, can have two kinds of impacts. I'll give you both impacts. I also warn you as to how to protect yourself. So this statement, word by word, as it translates, what does it mean? It says, shatajanmakoṭi puṇyaihi sukṛtaiḥ. Shata koti. Shata is 100. Koti is crore. 100 crores of lives worth punya acquired. How much is 100 crores into millions or billions? 100 crores. How much? 10 million? Pakka? Because I cannot translate it from crores and lakhs into millions and billions. 1 billion? Wow. It's just an arbitrary number given. It's saying, even after 1 billion lives worth punya acquired, mukti is not guaranteed. You want it? I thought you would say you want it now. Even after 1 billion lives worth punya acquired, wherein you have been focusing only in acquiring punya and not even by mistake performing any kind of wrong deed. Even then, it does not guarantee mukti. And here, a small bubble burster. Brace up. Coming to satsanga, many of us come saying, "Oh, thoda punya milega." I come to satsanga so that I acquire some punya points. Whole day long, I have acquired lot of papa points. Satsanga is like a balance creator that I acquire little punya points. Now it is a feel-good factor. Now here is the bubble burster. By coming to satsanga, you do not acquire punya whatsoever. What? Disappointing. Satsanga is the result of all the punya acquired. Satsanga is not the platform to acquire punya. Satsanga happens to that individual who has acquired that punya. Therefore, the next thing to focus on is, we have again been conditioned throughout our life to transform ourselves from being a bad person into a good person. So many people even define spirituality that way, wherein what is spirituality? To do good and to be good. And that is not the end goal of spirituality. That is the beginning point of spirituality. If it were just do good, be good, we don't need these many prakarana granthas, these many Upanishads, these many Bhagavad Gita commentaries, and then further explanation on those commentaries. There's one simple sentence. Remind yourself daily to do good, be good. Doing good, being good is just a starting point of spiritual evolution, not the end goal. So this statement can be quite disappointing. Baap re, these many lives worth punya acquired and still no. I think I'm better off without this kind of spirituality. Instead, the understanding should be that if it takes that many lives worth punya to get to the point of understanding mukti or realization, let me strive to make this life as that billionth life, as the culmination of all my punya. That should be the spirit with which this spirituality has to be pursued, not the other way around. There is that Hindi song, Aega, Aega Aane Wala. Or the other one, Hum honge kamyab. Kab? When will you be kamyab? Ek din. Sometime. No, that kind of spirit will never take us forward. It should be with the inspiration, with the zeal that I am going to achieve this here, now, in this life. But Swamiji, even in this life I have done so much papa, doesn't matter. Because spirituality is not about transforming from bad to good. Pay attention. The purpose of spirituality is to transcend the polarity of both good and bad. Goodness and badness is a perspective of convenience. What is good today can be bad tomorrow, depending on where you are seeing it from. What can be considered good in this time can be considered bad in the other time frames. We have seen these fluctuations in morality and ethics. So it is not to be entrapped in goodness and badness. The purpose of spirituality is to transcend goodness and badness, because our essential nature cannot be defined or restricted by the definition of goodness and badness. Instead, it is defined as that which transcends goodness and badness can alone be divine. So we are not trying to, through all this spirituality, our goal is not to become good. Transforming from bad to good, and then to transcend that goodness to be established in divinity. That is the purpose of spirituality. Sometimes what becomes a disappointing experience is those who are self-proclaimed spiritualists. They seem to spend a lot of time in meditation, lot of time in scriptural studies, satsang, bhajans. But when it comes to their interaction with the outside world, they are cruel, they are mean, they are anything but spiritual. Looking at such people, we come to a conclusion. If this is what is spirituality, I am better off doing whatever I understand as good and being whatever I understand as good. This is my spirituality. And that should not become our limitation. Therefore, the scripture always insists that our focus should not be on good and bad, because it is still a polarity. Polarity is dvandva, dvaita. Wherever there is dvandva, wherever there is polarity, there will be clash, there will be friction. Transcending that friction by establishing oneself into that divinity. That is the end goal. That is the purpose of spiritual sadhana. Nothing less than that. Because as we are trying to practice, there would be a point wherein we'll start comparing ourselves with somebody who is not that good a practitioner. And I say, I'm better than them, you know. That's a wrong standard of comparison. Being better than the rest is not the purpose of spirituality. Or they'll say, I'm at least not like them. And there are these people that come and say, I think my husband has started becoming spiritual. I said, what made you say so? On Thursdays, he has stopped eating meat. He has taken a vow not to drink on Thursdays. Meaning what? On Wednesday night, daba ke, in lieu of Thursday. And on Friday, again, chadake. Why? Whole of Thursday I had abstained from it. That doesn't make it spiritual. And again, the comparison is, I'm not like the rest of them who eat every day. I'm at least one day not eating, It's a starting point. Muktirno śatajanmakoṭisukṛtaiḥ puṇyairvinā labhyate. Therefore, the challenge is, do we want to make this the shatajanmakoṭi life or the starting point? The choice is still yours. It needs that kind of intensified pursuit. It cannot be one of the list that, doing this, I have now become spiritualist. The entire list, performing it in such a way that it helps me transcend this polarity of good and bad, that pursuit is called spiritual awakening. Therefore, Adi Shankaracharya ji goes into the next shloka saying, how should we focus? Now, the whole scheme is given. How should we focus? Are we even blessed enough to say that we have this opportunity to evolve in that spiritual line? Do we have enough punya points? He says, if you have these three, you already are having enough punya points. What are these three? He says, repeat after me. Durlabhaṃ trayamevaitaddevānugrahahetukam manuṣyatvaṃ mumukṣutvaṃ mahāpuruṣasaṃśrayaḥ durlabhaṃ trayam eva etat. A combination of these three are the rarest occurrences. What are they? Now, why do they happen, this occurrence? Adi Shankaracharya ji very subtly puts things wherein even before putting the effort of understanding the ego and its tricks, he is already puncturing it. Don't think that I am qualified for it because I have done something great. No, it is this particular rare factor combination happens only because daivanugrahahetukam. Because of the blessings of that divine, blessings of that Paramatma. Or the other way to understand it is, we keep questioning, we keep coming to those crossroads wherein we are confused, we end up asking questions. When do I see the grace of that Lord? Do I have that grace of that Lord? If we have these three, it is clear that we just not have the grace, but that grace is showering through. What are these three? Manuṣyatvaṃ, being born as a human being. Are they there? Excuse me. Okay. Like people are like, just to make sure. Manuṣyatvaṃ, one tick. 1/3 grace already flowing. Manuṣyatvaṃ. Mumukṣutvaṃ. Mumukṣutvaṃ. An intense desire to liberate oneself. To get free from. Mukti, what does it mean? To be released from is called mukti. See, I'll describe two environments. One, something has gone wrong with the physical body, could not move, things started collapsing, called the emergency and they picked me up, door delivery, and rushed me through. And there I am helplessly lying on that bed, getting different kinds of things poked at, medicated. Various things are happening. Until I am revived, I am stuck in that bed. I am stuck in that ward. I am stuck in that place. Where I don't have freedom to do whatever I feel like doing, which I would have been doing outside. I am stuck there. And the second is when the other 911 purpose, and you're put in a prison system. From both, when you get out, both are restricted environments. When you get out from both of them, when you get out of the hospital, what do they say? You're discharged. When you are out of the prison system, released. So mukti means what? To be released from. The huge discussion. Released from what? If you wait for another 19 minutes, you will be released from the satsang. See, sometimes you feel inspired, you feel touched. So you have spoken that to your neighbor or your best friend and you forced them, pulled them along into the satsang. And they are also sitting along with you, very awkwardly positioned, gaping at everything, looking at everything like, ho kya raha hai? What exactly is happening here? And when such person is invited and everybody else is laughing, they're staring at the other. What is there to laugh at this, man? You know, when I see a smile on such people's face, because through the lecture, what they have been doing, looking at the watch. Man, I thought 1.5 hours. I've never felt my 1.5 hours this long. The second stage of frustration is when they look at their watch and it seems like it is frozen. It used to happen with the old analog watches. They would shake it and then, kaam to kar raha hai. It is working, but why is it not moving? And the third stage of frustration is when they look at that watch, look at the speaker and point that watch to the speaker. Khatam bhi kar yaar. I am not making this up. I have gone through all these experiences. Such person, when they get out, what they feel is called mukti. Released from that conditioning, uncomfortable conditioning. So mukti means, it is not some, we may have certain imaginations about mukti. Many people, they have this, Swamiji, have you attained mukti? It's a very generic, vague statement. From what? See, the first time, no, not for the first time. It was the second time. The first time I came to US, I was given a visa for 3 years. And it expired. So I had to go back to India and get through the consular process and get it re-stamped. And my first time experience was not that great with the interviewer. So the second time that I went through the visa process, I was mentally prepared. Bring it on. Because they almost make you feel like petty, insignificant, which is okay, but the way they rub it in, I didn't like it. This time I was mentally prepared. Jo hota hai dekhenge. So I go inside. So first thing that he asks, so what exactly, how do you describe yourself? Said, I have taken this monastic order. I'm a celibate for life. And there is this religious organization which has its branches, one of the branches in Dallas. So I'm going there to take care of the religious responsibilities of that center. He sees through and it says some mantra. So these mantras, do you know them? I said, yes. Chant. And I gave him a stare down. Said, I really asked him, really? What mantra do you want me to chant, that which you already know? How would you know that I am chanting what I am claiming to chant? So I said, you got a point there. I know I have a point here. So he goes inside. This was in Chennai. There was an Indian working in the US embassy, called him. Some clerk. And the fun part was, I explained all this to Guruji. And Guruji was like, shell shocked. Next time, don't do like this, okay? So the Indian comes and says, sir, please chant. So I have the same question for you also, that how would you know that I am chanting something if you don't know it yourself? So his position also is in jeopardy there. So he says, can you chant suktams? I said, yeah, all the pancha suktams and the extra suktams, there are about 8 of them, all 13 of them memorized. Do you know Rudram? So I said, yes, I also know Rudram. There is Mahanyasa, there is Lagunyasa, there is Namaka, there is Chamaka. Which one do you want me to chant? And suddenly it was like, oh, there are this many? And then he said, chant Namakam. I started from the Mahanyasa. And after chanting for 3-4 minutes, he said, okay. And he was about to leave. I said, stop. Sir, this is exactly what I said. He also had no clue what I am chanting. He asked me to chant Namakam. I chanted Mahanyasam and he has no clue. He says, I have chanted it right. And he was like, Poda, like it was almost like conveying a message to me, like, it is your interview, not my interview here. And then he asked me something which, so far it was fun. He asked me something which really irritated me to a point. He looks at me and says, you look very young. I stared back at him. I am young. What I'm trying to ask is, what if you get married in US to an American? That kind of blew my top off. So I said, look, I have defined myself. I have taken a vow of celibacy. I have already lived that for these many years. No, what if you get married to... You are asking about a probability which I have no clue what you are asking about. But if you need an answer, I would prefer rather marrying an Indian beauty than marrying an ugly person from America. He got irritated with that answer. And if you're saying that you have taken a celibacy, vow of celibacy, are you not missing anything? So I said, oh yeah, I'm missing a lot. I said, what? All the problems that you go through, I'm missing that for the entire life. It went on for 45 minutes. There are different conditionings. Conditionings of the society, conditionings of the culture, conditionings of the nation, conditionings of being a human being, conditionings of being rich, conditionings of being poor, all these different conditionings. Any conditioning that stops me from being happy. Any conditioning that stops me from finding that inner peace. And there is a trick here. There is a twist here. To find that unconditioning, not by running away from the situation or the environment, but by being in there. That is the trick. Because our assumption would be to get rid of these conditionings, to be mukta, is to be running away from life, shying away from life. In fact, the Mundaka Shruti says, the one who has constantly his entire life ran away from life and experiences is certainly disqualified, because this takes severe amounts of perseverance. If you cannot face simple things in life, simple conditionings in life and grow out of them, you would not be qualified for this subtler aspect of spiritual evolution. Therefore, in Mundaka Shruti they say, Atma na balahinena labhyah. A weak-minded person who cannot face life can never ever think of acquiring spiritual status. It has become a generic norm of understanding of people that people take to spiritual path as an escapist route. See, when I took to the path, oh, there are so many experiences, hilarious ones. One that comes to my mind right now is my first ever interrogation. It happened in the train journey. This person introduces himself, and he thought I was wearing yellow clothes, yellow robes then, as a brahmachari. So he looks at my clothes and he says, any kind of diksha? Because in India, they wear these black robes for 41 days. for the Ayyappa Diksha. Then there is Tirupati Govinda Diksha. There are different kinds of Dikshas. They're all like 27 days, 41 days. So he looked at me and said, what kind of Diksha is this? So I said, permanent Diksha. He was expecting some God's name and some Diksha. I said, no, this is permanent Diksha. What do you mean? I said, I've taken to the life of a monastic order. You mean like a spiritual path? I said, yes. At that time I was, 19, 20 years old. The first thing that comes out of his mouth is, Ayyo. Sincerely he said, Ayyo. But why? Why did you choose this path, that too at such young age? So I thought I had now an opportunity to answer his question. But he was quite quick. I said, did you have a fight with your parents? Run away from home? I said, no, sir. Did you start some business or something and it didn't go well and there are a lot of people that you are holding debts and you had to run away? Nothing of that. Did you fail a lot in educational field and you are not good enough for education, therefore you took to this path? I said, no, sir. And then finally, by this time, it's a train, right? There are like 6 people here, 2 people sitting there, and then another 8 people there, 8 people behind. All of them had piqued their interest and they were all into it. And then finally he looks at all of them and comes close to me. Love la faila. When nothing of that is working, maybe you must be a failure. The point that I'm trying to make is a generic concept is those who take to the path of spirituality are those who are usually losers in life. Whereas the scripture is very clearly saying if you are a loser in life, you have no scope of standing. Because a firm mind, a mind with conviction, alone can travel this path where there is that courage and conviction established. That firmness. Again, mukti is not to be misunderstood as suddenly there will be a halo around you. If you want a halo, you can arrange a focus light, and from the back when you look at it, there will be a halo kind of a thing. Or to carry that serene face. That is not called mukti. That is called, in Hindi they say nautanki. What is mukti? To identify all the limitations that I am conditioned through and to break each one of them and to get released beyond them. That is called mukti. Mumukṣutvaṃ. And the last one, mahāpuruṣasaṃśrayaḥ. Okay, one more statement about mumukṣutvaṃ, which essentially means a consistent pursuit to find peace and happiness. That is called mumukṣutvaṃ. So first one, manuṣyatvaṃ, you all said we are already there. Are we searching for anything else other than peace and happiness in life? Yes or no? Okay, let me put it the other way around. When you put effort, are you searching for miseries and confusions and restlessness? Because being here for 25 years as a sadhu life, I'm yet to come across a person who has ever come and said, Swamiji, pray for me. tomorrow I am going to put this effort with which I am sure I will be miserable for the rest of my life. Pray for me. Nobody ever puts an effort to be miserable. We are putting an effort consistently to acquire that peace, joy and happiness. Mumukṣutvaṃ, second one guaranteed. Third one, mahāpuruṣasaṃśrayaḥ. To come in contact with mahāpurusha. Mahāpurusha, somebody who has gone through these scriptures, experienced the depth of it at a personal level, and can communicate that in a language which can be understood and applied in my own life as a seeker. If we are all sitting here, it is because of that Mahāpurusha whom we call as Gurudev. Through his blessings. So the third one also is there in our life. If at all there is anything lacking, I would say the fourth one, it's not there, but I am adding it. The fourth one is called ātmākrupa. To bring oneself to understand and apply it, allow ourselves to grow. The rest of it is already provided for. Mahāpuruṣasaṃśrayaḥ. manuṣyatvaṃ, mumukṣutvaṃ, mahāpuruṣasaṃśrayaḥ. Once you find these three, what does it indicate? That Paramatma and his blessings, his grace is showered upon all of us immensely. So you don't need to waste time and say that I am a human being, but I don't know when I'll have the rest of the two. I just proved it that we already are blessed with the rest of them. The only thing that has to be is ātmākrupa. So one of our sadhus, sannyasis, he would say, for ātmākrupa, what do? Take your own feet and do your namaskar. Hey Jiva, please bless me to follow this path. So the rest of them are being given on a golden platter. Though we have these three, what becomes the stumbling block? That is a discussion in next shloka, which we will see tomorrow. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.